Greetings, it's me Chase, and I wanted to do like kind of a little video here on the attempted assassination on former President Donald Trump. Just wanted to add a few of my own comments on the whole thing and what led us to this point. I'm somebody who I try my best to understand somebody who's different than me. My buddies and I, in one of our little messenger chats the other day, we were talking about covenant theology and, Presbyterianism and their view of baptism and stuff like that. And, we got into a discussion about that somehow. None of us agree with the Presbyterian view on baptism. But one of my friends, he was saying, he's asking a bunch of questions about it. It's like, so, do they? I forget exactly what he was saying, but it was a lot of confusion about it because he thinks more like a Baptist. And I just said, you're thinking like a Baptist. You have to think. Presbyterians don't see baptism as something that is done out of a confession of faith, because that's Baptist thinking. They see baptism as a sign of the covenant. So in the same way in the Old Testament, when you circumcise your son, you do so in the New Covenant. You don't baptize them, or you didn't circumcise your son when he professed to be part of the New Covenant. You circumcise the son because he is part of the covenant. So it's like not really his choice. He's circumcised. Same thing in the New Covenant. You baptize your children because they are members of the covenant. It has really nothing to do with salvation, anything like that. Although I have heard some Presbyterian guys try to make certain cases that there is salvific nature or a salvific nature of baptism, but those are fringe kind of people. But anyways, I said that, and I kept having to clarify. I'm just make sure I'm clear here. I'm not a Presbyterian. I don't agree with the Presbyterian view. I'm just telling you that's what their view is. So when you're trying to critique it, you got to think like that, right? You got to understand the way they're thinking. So I told them, you're thinking like a Baptist. Don't think like a Baptist. Think like a Presbyterian. All that to basically say, it's about understanding how somebody else is thinking, what their thought process is. And I think we need a lot of that in our country today. So why am I mentioning all that? Well, we're talking a lot today, right now, at least on the right, about these people are nuts, they're Looney Tunes, they're crazy, and like they try to assassinate somebody running for president. And I've seen some pictures of the alleged shooter before he was shot and after he was shot, which looks like he took one right to the head. I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, this guy he's not some trained assassin, anything like that. He's just some crazy dude who when you look at him, if that's him, that's somebody who needs to, who just, you wish kind of went outside for a little bit, and stop sitting in his home and just eating junk food, playing video games or something like that, whatever he's doing. He looks like a very lonely person, looks like a very disturbed individual. And it's sad to watch, to be honest with you. Reason why I'm mentioning a lot of these things is because you look at this guy, that man, when he was going for that shot or those shots, which, by the way, I'm almost convinced that he was shooting some kind of very small caliber rifle. It didn't sound very loud. I know it was from 150 yards, but a loud rifle, you should be able to still hear that a little bit louder than that. I would think. I've been around guns, shotguns plenty of times, and that one just didn't sound like a very loud caliber. So I was initially thinking, man, maybe he has just like this tiny little 22 rifle that he was just shooting. And look, 150 yards with a 22 rifle, you're gonna hurt somebody for sure. But yeah, that's not even going to go through the skull at 150 yards with a 22. That's not going through the skull. That's going to hurt really bad. But and at the same time, now I'm thinking a little bit more about it. If it was a direct hit, Trump would be in a lot more pain than he was. So he most likely was grazed. It struck him in the ear. And, that was probably what it was. And people are telling me now that he tilted his head and the bullet went like that. Excuse me, sorry. It's late. And that a bullet grazed his ear. So a lot of people saying that his life was saved by that small tilt of the head like that. I don't know. But anyways, the point is that guy who is taking that shot, he believed, because there's people on Twitter X right now saying, I've seen somebody saying, oh, we were this close to saving democracy, like saying like it sucks that he missed. And you read that and you just go, what planet are you living on? How do you save democracy by assassinating somebody who you disagree with? And yeah, I would agree that is absolutely not somebody who's thinking about saving democracy or constitutional republicanism. But once again, I just want to say this, and I'm not trying to say this because I'm trying to sympathize with the left. I'm just trying to say, understanding these people, a lot of these people, they genuinely believe that Trump is the incarnation of Hitler. They really believe he's racist. They really believe he's borderline a murderer. He's a tyrant, and he is the second coming of Hitler, and he's going to kill a lot of American citizens. They really believe that. When you really believe that, and you see what's going on right now, first of all, you recognize, the debate that occurred between this guy and your president was an absolute disaster for your guy. You're going, oh gosh, now these people have so much momentum to get this guy in office, and they really, 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 they genuinely believe it's the end of their world. If you believed that this guy was the end of your world, you might, the idea of extreme means to protect your children, as it were, even though I'm pretty sure this guy didn't have any kids, becomes less of an unreasonable option. And again, in that kind of a mindset, you would think it would be, it starts to make a little bit more sense. So, and again, I'm not trying to say that to be sympathetic towards them. I'm just trying to say, when I think about things like this, these big events, I'm always trying to steer away from the emotionalism and trying to think about, how did we get to this point? And again, I'm just constantly taking it back to, this guy believed that this man, Donald Trump, was such a threat that he was willing to risk his own life and his own freedom to save what he believed was his world. He believed that. And so you ask the question, why did he believe that? And I was talking with some friends tonight about it. We were talking a little bit about it, and I mentioned this. I said, a lot of this it's the mainstream media. It's the news. The news has turned us against each other. I've always just wanted to sit and just ask some people, like, Donald Trump's just this big racist. I'm like, what's he done that has proven that he's a racist? Oh, he hates, gays. And I'm like, this guy is one of the most pro-gay presidents in the world. You know that, right? He is. Where are you getting that information? There's only one thing that makes sense: the news. They don't try to understand the other side. They don't try to understand why we think the way we think. They don't care about our concerns, people like me, my concerns about the direction that this country is headed. They don't care. There is, and I see it. It is a chronic thing on social media right now. People are making fun of this whole thing. And Trump versus Biden. You got that. There was a picture of comparison of Trump, after he got shot, and then he's like going, yeah, like that, and then they got Biden just falling off of the stairs up into Air Force One. And I saw that video of Biden falling, and I was horrified. I thought that was, that's an old man falling right there. I don't care what you think about the guy. That's not good at all. That's you're at that kind of an age. You're pretty fragile. And you take a spill like that, that could be really bad. But people, making those kind of comparisons, like we're at a point now where I think we're at a point of no return. We have become so alienated from each other. There is no attempt to understand each other. There's no attempt to reason, to talk. Guys, there was a time in this country, many moons ago, where the presidential candidate was trying to get your vote. Each presidential candidate was trying to get your vote over the same essential issues. The only problem was they just disagreed on the way to solve a solution. Now we're just don't even care about trying to reach people on the other side. We're just pumping up our side, trying to get them out to outvote the other side. It's no longer, and so we no longer see ourselves as this one group of people, and the two guys trying to convince us all that he's the one who has the best solution for the same problems that we're all considering. It's now we're just two completely different groups with the two guys on each side, and we're just trying to rally our side to come out and vote more. We're not even trying to understand the other side anymore. That's a country that is completely, and I think irreconcilably divided. I don't know when it's going to happen, but there's going to come a time where this country collapses and comes apart. There is no way that this country can live like this. No country can survive this. It's just we are no longer able to live with one another. We've reached that point. So, what does that mean? I don't know. I don't know what that means for the future. And I've really given up trying to predict what's going to happen in the future because, everybody's talking about, history repeats itself. That's true, but I was thinking about this earlier today, and it was before the shooting. I was thinking about this earlier today. I think it was actually just almost right before it. I was thinking about, at least before I heard it. History repeats, but there's always a lot of nuances though in when it repeats. And you got to be able to pay attention to the nuances. Like people were saying that when Russia was invading Ukraine, people were saying, "Oh, history repeats itself." Putin's the new Hitler, and Biden's trying to negotiate and whatever. And this is the same issue with the Sudetenlands with Hitler and the Western power, other Western powers and stuff. And I was like, I don't think those are the same things. I think this is more, if anything, in terms of history repeating itself, this is more like a World War I kind of scenario. Not World War I, I'm sorry, but like the end of World War I scenario thing. And I read a really interesting article that this is it's a mistake to see this as the preludes to World War II history repeating itself. It's more like akin to the if anything, it's more akin to the end of World War I, because look, the simple fact is, much of the, I think about it like this. I think World War II and World War I were the same essential war with an interlude of like 20 years. Because World War I led to World War II. That's what happens when you decide, hey, we won, So, nana nana boo boo, you pay for all of it. Even though Germany didn't even start World War One, like, didn't even start it, but they're the ones paying for everything. And when you do that to a nation, you set up you set things up for what follows. A people that becomes desperate. You know, vengeance never truly solves anything for a reason. When you seek vengeance, you're trying you kill or you harm somebody, and that affects people around that somebody, the people who cared about that somebody, and now they're going to look for vengeance on you, and it's just an endless cycle. It just and so, of course, when that happens, the German people are always asking about, you know, how did World War II start? You know, how did people fall for Hitler? And like, you got to understand the context of Germany before Hitler. They were in massive debt. Their military was they were just effectively neutered. Like they were forced to reduce their military. They could not expand their military beyond a certain point. They were just basically turned into like this tiny little, and they were just shamed and embarrassed. And that created economic turmoil in the country. When things like that begin to happen, people are desperate for a Messiah figure. And Hitler fed on that. He was telling people, and he wasn't just telling people, but he was doing it in a way that was powerful. They really believed he was their Messiah, who was going to save Germany from, he made the people believe that they were victims of this tyrannical order led by the Jews, and he was going to save them from it. And the way he spoke, people believed him. So anyways, but I don't know how I got on that, but you know, so yeah, history, you know, history does repeat itself, but you have to be able to point to see the nuances of it, to really, because if you don't, I think that can also lead to some serious mistakes, big mistakes. Like the shooter, he probably thought history is repeating itself and I got to stop it, not realizing the lethal irony in his conclusion, because he made the wrong calculation, he made the wrong assessment. You know, it's sad that an individual like that died probably without Christ. You know, and this guy probably was duped by the propaganda of the news. When you have news networks that are just constantly telling people Trump is this, Trump is that, Trump, without, and instead of being accurate, instead of trying to be honest about it, it's like, you know, you are creating a people filled with hatred. You are sowing hatred. And I'm not trying to say the right is innocent of this. The right's not innocent of this. But that's what we get. This is what happens. So in many ways, the news media is responsible for a lot of this. They are. And so you know, what do we do as a solution to this? The solution to this, guys, is, first of all, turn off the news, the mainstream media outlets, and sometimes, honestly, I don't even listen to a lot of, you know, non-mainstream news stuff. I just think they get a lot of things wrong too. But turning that off, obviously, is a start. Trying to reach and understand each other is the next solution, you know. But will we do that though? I don't think we will. I just think, you know, and I've said this to many people before, you know, look, going back to history repeats itself. Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I can't predict what's going to happen in the future. In times like these, there's so much that ends up going up in the air, and it's just so unpredictable what's going to happen next. I mean, during the French Revolution, for instance, when it all came to a head, this is what happened. In many ways, I don't hold to a Hegelian dialectic system, but I think he was onto something in some ways. It's like this: there's an antithesis here, there's an antithesis here, and they just collide. And just when they collide, just boom, and no one can really predict what's going to happen next. But after the big boom, because when you think about it, chaos, explosions, they result in an imbalance in nature, a severe imbalance, and nature's just restoring the balance by just making a big boom. And when it all settles, there you go. That's what ends up. That's what you get. In some ways, I just think that that's kind of what we have happening here. Some kind of imbalance has occurred, and no, we just can't predict what's going to happen. So in some ways, yes, history is repeating itself, but and what I mean by that is, like, I think the only thing that we can know for certain is that the future of the United States as a single country is probably not going to last longer than 10, 15 years. And I think that's being kind, maybe even less than that, maybe even 5 years. That's the only thing I think we can know for certain. Anything else, I don't think we can. I just think it's beyond anybody's capability to understand because of the way things are going. These are the things that we've seen in history, where in a country there's so much internal turmoil, where you have practically civil war, and when that civil war occurs, that country is always split into two that go their separate ways, sometimes 3 or 4, and that's what you end up with. And that's basically what happens. And the sad thing, though, that the thing that's troubling is before all of that, a lot of people die. A lot of people die. And that's just what I think we need to prepare for. So just some thoughts on this whole thing, and praying for our country, obviously. Pray. Just pray. There you go. Soli Deo Gloria. God bless. Bye.